Better for everybody.
More better. More better. You're live, Dougie. Hi, guys.
Live and online.
We're live and online and doing our little preamble to the show tonight.
Yeah. We're live or virtually online.
We're virtually almost here. Hopefully everybody can see us. Yeah, I think so. Everybody can see. Dougie wants to lean in a little bit. He can get in on the picture too. But there's Dougie's.
Lean back a little. Oh, where's the monitor? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, we're good. I think we're good.
There we go. Now I'm in the
now
scene.
You can see both of our pretty faces.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go live here pretty soon on the Weather Salt podcast. We're brought to you today by Longboard Island Lager. That's what I'm drinking today, and take a little drink there. And we're going to talk about.
Do you get $1 for them every time you say that?
I don't get shit. And you know what? Actually, we need some subscribers out there. So if you guys can subscribe to the YouTube feed, if you guys are watching this YouTube feed, either live or whether you get this later on, hit that little subscribe button down there near the bottom right hand corner and lift us up there in the ratings. You guys, we love you guys. We love you coming over to see the content and no, we're not Dan Bongino and we're not Jimmy Dore and we're not Joe Rogan, but we'll get there. We'll get there one of these days. We're just newborns in the podcasting lake, that I will say, and we're going to get there. We're going to get up in our listenership. Numbers go up and down.
Yeah, and it's not sensationalism.
Absolutely,
we're not gonna tell you lies, and we're not gonna scare you.
So we're not those guys that are out there on the radio every day that every day, and you can go tune in on Fox News or CNN. You're not going to see us guys on there, but we're just two old guys that just want you to get the fuck off our grass, right?
That's right.
And if YouTube doesn't like that F word, I'm sorry. Then just I don't know. You can't platform me because I have no platform. So.
Oh, that was the last thing I heard as I left the house today.
What was that?
The gay community is suing YouTube. Yeah, for
what?
Content editing. They're
saying content editing everybody. So
right.
I hear the liberals were saying that, Jimmy Dore screams about, YouTube
all the time,
deplatforming, the liberals and progressive. Well, actually he's not a liberal. He's progressive. He was very adamant about calling himself a progressive today and, or his last podcast. He only does one podcast a week. I love his podcast. He's great. He's well,
there's nothing liberal about being progressive because to be progressive, you have to kind of like push and being liberal, you kind of hang back.
Kind of like that. And Dan Bongino complains all the time, and Mark Levine and all those guys, talk about, conservative talk and videos being deplatformed and stuff like that, and on YouTube. And now the gays are doing it. And if you don't like the word gay, I'm sorry. It's too bad. That's what I say. And that's what I'm going to do. So we're not PC here. We try not to be too PC. Sometimes if there's tender ears out there, we'll think about it. But we mostly do an adult podcast. So
well, that's one thing. Saying like when I was young, pretty much anybody that was gay, lesbian, anything but heterosexual. Was called queer. He's a queer, she's a queer, and it didn't matter if you're transvestite, if you were homosexual, if you were, you could be the mayor of the city during the day and a burlesque dancer at night.
Oh yeah,
you'd just be queer. It wouldn't be you were transvestite, you weren't. It was just that was basically. Now it's in all these subsections and stuff, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, people want to be identified, but. Once again, I don't think there's anything derogatory about using the terms.
And I do know that back in the day, things were a little bit more difficult for gay people and transgenders and stuff like that coming out.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's always been a struggle for everybody who's coming out. I mean, they complain about white men as the advantage over centuries and centuries and centuries. Well, we have, but in the same token, it probably wasn't hard for us to come out. At one time we were oppressed by somebody. You know, because if you believe in your what do you call that? Your anthology, archaeology, stuff like that. You know,
Anthropology.
Anthropology.
Yeah.
You know, apparently we come from Africa. But then there's
Yeah.
been some, some discoveries up in the northern China and Russia. You know, that's where the origin of man is. But pretty much really the big theory is down in Africa. So was the first person.
Well, when you're
African,
a communist,
or,
when you're a communist country run by a dictator, then definitely you are where civilization and human mankind began.
I will absolutely agree with you.
Just by default.
Well, yeah, we are the Weather. We're the Weathered Soul podcast, and this is Dougie, and I'm Bruce, and we're glad to see you here, man. We just want to entertain you for about an hour. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of things, and we haven't even started up the podcast show yet. So you guys are getting a little bit of inside information here as we go forward. I'm actually trying to load up here the live feed so I can look at the chat. If you guys want to come in and chat, and you guys can chat, that would be great. And I will try to answer all the questions that I can. One of these days, Dougie, he'll bring his laptop, and then he can sit here and he can chat with me, because we haven't had any chatters yet. So one of these days we're going to get chatters.
Man. Yeah.
One of these days we're going to get people to respond to our emails and all that other stuff. We would really love you guys just to give us, even if it's a hate mail, give us some hate mail. I love to. I want to read some fan mail.
Well, how else are we going to know what we're doing wrong?
Exactly. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us what we're doing right.
It's true. It's all true.
It's fantastic. But we're going to talk about a lot of things tonight. We're going to talk about Hong Kong. We're going to talk about WWE SummerSlam that just was around, just past this last Sunday. And on Saturday, Epstein committed suicide, Mr. Epstein. We're going to talk about that. And then we'll talk about some local fare that's coming up. We've got a big show coming up tomorrow night down in Gilroy for the benefit of the people that were involved in the shooting at the Garlic Festival. And we'll talk about my End of Summer concert coming up here in September. And we'll just do all those things. So we're going to start the show right now. Hang tight.
And bright stars were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave through the night, then a flag was still there. Oh, say does the stars sprinkle their iron way? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Well, we're not live on your podcast, but we're live on YouTube. We've got Bruce and Doug, the Weathered Soul podcast, live from First Note Production Studios in Gilroy, California. It's a Thursday night. It's about 103 out, so we've got everything closed up, and we are stuck in this little studio, and we're just gonna, we're gonna be okay. It'll be all right, because we always, for best results, we squeeze from the bottom up, right there, Dougie?
Absolutely. Squeeze from the bottom up.
Squeeze from the bottom up. So what you just heard, I apologize for the quality of the audio, but that would be the protesters in Hong Kong actually singing the national anthem and holding flags at the protest of the airport in Hong Kong. And
They did a pretty good job
they
too.
did a great job on it, and I'm just impressed. They are actually trying to embrace America's liberties that they have, emulating a protest that we would do. And they've been extremely, extremely peaceful. The media is coming out and kind of brow bashing them now, with the situation. They're going like, oh, they've turned violent, or the other way around. It depends on what you're taking is how you're seeing it. But the
British thought the Tea Party was hella violent. Absolutely.
Right. And the situation is that now the cops are actually starting to respond with their own type of violence, I guess, and we'll see what the Chinese.
Yeah, well, at first it was
does.
kind of a suppression type violence, just crowd control,
Right.
police lines, tear gas, pepper spray, maybe a few head bashings.
Right,
but
right.
Now they're ringing the city with tanks.
Well, they don't want to, I think that the Chinese government has to act with extreme caution about this thing, with everything being live. At the instant, you can see this on YouTube or Instagram or places like that, and it's a touchy situation with them. Now they got the Chinese military forming around, I guess, the city or the country. It can't country's an island, right? It's Hong Kong.
No,
Okay.
Hong Kong's a city, but yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so anyway, they're either
it's
at
a
the
territory.
They're either at the city or at their country line.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Well, it's not a country anymore.
Right.
In 1999, it went back to China. It's part of China.
And actually, that they're, like you said before, they're a little too late to be trying to get liberties, especially from the Chinese government. I don't see that happening. And all this over the fact that they want to, the Chinese government wants to be able to bring people into their homeland to face trial over, I guess, crimes that they do in Hong Kong.
Well, that's the problem. Is Hong Kong, had its autonomy under British rule for so long. And then in 1999, their lease was up.
Yeah.
So they turned it back over to the Chinese. Now it's part of China. It's as much of China as Beijing is, but it has freedoms, and it needs to have those freedoms for the Chinese economy to work. It's a double-edged sword for them. One side is we want our authoritarian control,
exactly,
tell you how to live, when to live, why to live, all that, right? But on the other hand, we need to have this open door with the rest of the world. This token that the rest of the world can trade with, so that they can't give us shit about what we're doing on the interior of our country.
Right. So one of my questions is, and I don't know, maybe but is the Hong Kong economy, because there's stuff that does come over, gets shipped into or imported from Hong Kong and Taiwan and places. Taiwan's got a real big concern over this whole thing. So my question is, are they affected by the tariffs that Trump put forward? So
they're part of China, so I assume they are.
I assume they are. Yeah.
Most of Hong Kong's business is banking.
Well,
it's not like a big manufacturing place. It's mostly money switching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Communist money, free money, communist money, back and forth, right?
Yeah. Well, they probably always have been, but the economy of China does lend itself to manufacturing.
Well, that's China, not Hong Kong.
China. So
Hong Kong is a little isolated entity.
I understand that.
It's sort of an enigma right now, because when it was under British control, it was pretty crystal clear that it was just there for convenience of trading. Like we need an office, right? We need an office in China, so it goes to Hong Kong, right? Now, since 1999, when China took Hong Kong back over, the England's had nothing to do with it except for its business interests, and that's really all it is. It's just a hub of business interests, like a hive, where bees come in and out with their nectar, and and then it filters its way into China, and then what China needs kind of filters back into it. But it's not like any of the other cities in China.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, not my concern, but I think what the media is trying to portray, because Trump backed down from that tariff because of quote Christmas time.
Bullshit.
Is that
Sorry,
is
just an
that
opinion.
Because a lot of manufacturing, I don't know if this is true. I mean, I've heard it. I haven't researched it, but manufacturing is actually starting to, get out of China. They're going to go other places to do their business because you can't ship out of China. I say it's bullshit because the tariffs are the tariffs. I mean, I think as far as finances go with world finances and doing all that sort of thing, I don't know how that money runs around. But you got to figure that they're going to be, they devalued their currency so they can have their products come down in price to be able to sell to the outside world.
Right.
But it's more expensive to their people, I guess. That's how I heard it kind of turned around in that way.
Sure. If your currency is at 100%, you go to buy a unit,
right,
and it costs you 1 unit, you get 1 unit. But if your currency is at 50%, you go to buy 1 unit, then you have to spend 2 units.
Right. So when Hong Kong was under British rule, they weren't spending with the yuan, the yuan,
yuan.
Yeah. Okay, they weren't dealing with the yuan; they were dealing with American dollars. I'm assuming that's
same with most of the world.
It was same with most of the world. So
but it's still got an exchange.
So do we still have so what now? Is the yuan trying to get into that Hong Kong exchange and be able to dilute or mix in with the American dollars in Hong Kong, or that's what I'm trying to figure out how that works, because you just said something interesting. They were too little, too late. Okay, so they've always been under British rule. So the reason why this whole country, the USA, started was because we wanted out of British rule. Now, has that British rule changed in 250 years?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, no, it wasn't the same. British wasn't taxing the shit out of Hong Kong and abusing the resources
but
and all
they had
that
a lease on it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how that lease came about, or how that power came about with.
No, I'm talking about the Chinese protesters in Hong Kong. The citizens.
Yeah, exactly.
This is too little, too late.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they wanted. If they wanted to live like us, they would have had to change stuff 250 years ago or earlier.
Well, that's what
okay. I mean, way before communism started.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, when they still had emperors, they should have had a revolution against the emperors and then set up a free capitalistic society.
Right.
And nowadays, nobody's going to overthrow the Chinese government, and 5% of their population isn't going to make the whole country change.
No, it's not. But it's an interesting situation that's going on over in Hong Kong, because the story intrigued me, not only because the protesters are protesting against oppression by Chinese rules, that we don't hear anything bad about the Chinese in the media as far as when Trump's concerned. And we're all concerned about the Chinese because it's a big part of our economy, because we're a consumer economy. So
they're our main dealer.
So we depend on Chinese imports to come in here. So me and you can buy freaking $250 TVs and $800,000 freaking iPhones. So I mean, that's exactly what we are, dude. We are no longer a manufacturing country or economy.
So we are
a consumer country.
We can get $2.98 vacuum cleaners.
We do not produce a whole lot that goes out. And one of the things that was brought forth to me was that it's going to take us a very long time to get back to where we were, like right before the war. I mean, we owned manufacturing right, during the war and right after the war, because we wiped out everybody else, or those people, or the enemy wiped out the other manufacturings
Europe's infrastructure was shot, so we had to supply them with everything, and not so much manufactured goods, but hard materials, machines,
right,
machines, and and infrastructure and all that sort of stuff.
Right. We touched on that last week.
Yeah,
that's
where
why I brought it up.
A lot of innovation came from that.
But so I respect them for taking our anthem and envying what we have here in America, because to me, in the media at least, because it's not getting a lot of air. I don't know. It's not getting a lot of airtime with them singing the national anthem or waving the flags, because that doesn't fit the narrative right now. But it's going around YouTube, and to me, for them to envy the situation that we have here in America, and for seeing what goes on in our media and what we see, what the media shows us, that the entertainment people that are just trashing America, kneeling for the national anthem, burning our flag, whatever. And you can feel however you want on that. I don't care. I'm kind of a patriotic guy, so I'm kind of side with you stand for the national anthem, or you salute, whatever you do for the national anthem, even though we sat down tonight. But when I'm out and I'm there at a sports event or anything else like that, I get up and I pay my respects, because a lot of people spilled their blood for freedom that I have for even doing this, because you can't do this in China. So at least not without being heavily edited before it goes out, and if at all. And hey, we must be 23 minutes into the show because I forgot to put on the light again. So we're going to take our customary break, and
and away we go.
He's going to take over the show.
All right. Well, Bruce goes just the lighting. Okay, there we go. And we're back. No, so it's a very touchy thing with Hong Kong and China, the rest of the world, and it's the same type of thing like you mentioned Taiwan.
Right.
Taiwan is theoretically still part of China, even though it is a free capitalistic society. Shanghai Shek, ran over there and set up his own little government and all of that, and China has pretty much left it alone because it's a tool. It's a tool for them too.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a tool for them all the way through.
But think about what you're saying before about after World War II, the United States was a huge manufacturing giant, and we built all of the machines that are now running the rest of the world, or gave the rest of the world what it needed to get started with.
Right.
And then all right, so then it was United States, everything was made in the United States, it was great, boom boom boom. And what was the first thing that you remember? Was it everything was made in Japan?
A lot of stuff was made in Japan.
And then it was made in Taiwan, then it was made in Korea. Okay, now it's all made in China.
Yeah, there was a lot of Vietnam in there for a while.
Oh, yeah,
too.
there was. Yeah,
Shoes were
yeah.
coming from Vietnam. Shirts were coming from Vietnam.
Yeah,
a lot of electronics.
A lot of clothes. Yeah,
not a lot of electronics, but a lot of clothes were coming from Vietnam, and then a lot of electronics and stuff actually went over to China. So, it's kind of.
Yeah, but first it was Japan. They had the Seiko watches, the not Nikon, Pentax camera, the Japanese camera. Were all hot shit stuff. Sony radio, hot shit stuff.
We got to figure that did those companies start before World War II? A lot of those companies, or were they?
Well, some of them were, but because Japan's business infrastructure is quite a bit different. Their companies are long lived.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So they must have been there
and multifaceted too.
Before we dropped the bombs on them, because we only dropped bombs on 2 cities, and thanks to a lot of people. But
but it's interesting how things are set up in Japan. It's not like here. It's like, Yamaha. Whichever company, each company gets its own specialty.
Right.
So let's say Yamaha is the guy that makes the best engines. Okay. So then Honda needs a sports car engine. They don't develop a sports car engine. They buy one from Yamaha, and Yamaha builds it with Honda Honda on it.
Right. Yeah,
it's different. It's different than the way we do things.
Yeah, I kind of understand how that rolls. So.
Yeah.
But back to Hong Kong. So somewhere along the line, Hong Kong got into the money business or the stock business, because that's where the exchange is in Hong Kong. That's that's where the big money is. I've always heard, like you said, that a lot of financing going through Hong Kong. So it's going to be kind of weird seeing what's going on with the population there. Personally, I don't think they're going to fare any better than their citizens in China. I just don't think that it's going to turn into another Tiananmen Square. So that would be sad to see if it does, because
it might get a lot worse than that.
Man, I hope not.
Well, there's only two things. Well, I shouldn't say there's two things I can think of can happen. One is, capitulation. Both sides say, okay, we'll give a little. All right, everybody's happy. Shut up, go home. Or it's going to be, we're gonna start shooting you fucking people until the rest of you shut up. Period. Done.
Shoot unarmed people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, unarmed people.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Well, because the way their government and their mindset is with the country not being the country being the mother, basically. Yeah. Little tiny things like this are
magnified.
Well, they're traitorous.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not just a protest. Okay. Now you're a traitor. Right. It's not like you have an opinion. It's like you go with what Mother China says, or you are a traitor, period. Tough shit. It's not like it is here. So they have no problem mowing those people down.
And that's just kind of what I wanted to hear, just to portray out that this is how me and Dougie think, and it's just like, you've got to be happy with what you got here, even though that we have given away a lot in our liberties and in our freedoms. And I pride myself on being a libertarian and for liberty and freedom. And of course, Dougie's always been the the
hyper liberal, ultra conservative.
Yeah, hyper liberal, ultra conservative. So you're going to get both sides from him, and for me, you're going to get the middle. So you got the Oreo cookie right here.
Well, I figure
why go anyplace else?
I go like alkaline and acid, so I'm hoping to turn to salt in the middle.
Well, man, like I said, I hope the outcome comes out better than what did in Tiananmen Square.
Yeah. Well, that was a shame, but that's the way it works there.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's another thing too. That's why you see, you see these like the Olympics. Did you see? I mean, the way they presented the Olympics and the shows that they put on and so forth, it was like almost like a flock of birds or a an insect colony. They all knew what they need to do. They all did it. They did it the best they could, and they did it loving their country. Like, we're doing this for Mother China, so we're going to do it the best. I don't care if it hurts. I get up and do my calisthenics in the parking lot of the company every morning after I take my ride on public transportation to my, 14-hour day job. And I'll do my calisthenics in the morning. Then I'll go in and I'll have some soup at the company, cafeteria, and I'll go work 8 hours, and I'll go and have another cup of soup, go work another 8 hours, go have another cup of soup, go home on public transportation, live in my company owned apartment. They dig that shit.
Yeah, it's a different culture back there. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
I'd come home, sit back in my backyard, and just work 8 hours a day. If not, try not to work 8 hours a day. Different culture.
Yeah.
But, hey guys, I want to thank you guys for listening and to the podcast through the website, which is the Weathered Soul Podcast.libsyn.com. And then also you can find us over in Facebook. You can just type in the Weathered Soul Podcast and you can get to the Facebook site. And we also, if you want to get some extra material, like what's going to happen after our show today is we'll record a little bit of extra material, you can go to patreon.com and you can pick up the Weathered Soul Podcast there, the patreon.com/the Weathered Soul Podcast, and you can get some extra content for $1 a month. That is like real cheap. And maybe I should only be charging 50 cents, but maybe I should charge $5. I don't know. But we still need your support, because pretty soon these microphones are going to need to be cleaned. I need to learn how to speak, without slurring.
Yeah. Well, the $3,000 per year ones already got sold out.
Yeah, the $3,000 per year ones were sold out, and then the $1,000 per year, they're almost gone. The $500s went like real fast. $500 ones went really fast, and for $300, the $3,000 ones are gone. But we're waiting for our first checks to come in on that one. It's all promissory stuff. And you can also catch us on Google Play. You can catch us on Stitcher. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts. And we just got picked up by radio.com. So go to radio.com and you can see the Weathered Soul podcast on there. And you can always find us on YouTube. Our videos
How can they
are
see
live.
it on radio? I'm confused.
And you can get us on, you can see us on YouTube. We're live on Thursday nights. Actually, we're doing this on Wednesday night. I have a very important date coming up. The very first week of September, I get to go away for a week, and we will have a fill-in podcast. Somehow I'm going to do an interview with somebody, and we'll just podcast.
And don't forget, the very last week of August, I go away.
And then you go away, so you'll be gone. I'll be doing solo one myself.
Yeah.
That one's get 2 hits. I'll get 2 hits on that one.
So next Thursday after. I think it's the 28th. Yeah,
28th. Yeah, Thursday after. And so you can catch us live on YouTube until they pull us down. So you never know. Dougie, what'd you do Sunday, Dougie?
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I know it was. I know what you did Saturday night.
What did I do Saturday
You
night?
were here Saturday night.
Don't tell anybody.
Doing what we do on Saturday nights.
Sunday was a typical day at home.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, nothing with, did some stuff around the yard, and watched some TV and watched our Sunday night shows.
Oh, I watched the Sunday night show.
Yeah.
WWE SummerSlam.
Yeah. I saw that advertised.
Well, you should have came over because it's on my tube every day, man. I had plenty of ribs left. Poor Eddie. I got a shout out to Big Ed. Big Ed went ill on Sunday morning. Said he had E. coli or some kind of food poisoning, and he's not claiming that. If you come over for a barbecue at my house, you will notice that I am incredibly anal about cross-contamination. So if I'm cooking for you, you can be guaranteed I'm not going to give you food poisoning. So, but something that he must have consumed on Sunday or Saturday night, or something caught up with him on Sunday morning, and he's just barely getting out of bed and getting moving now. So he's an older guy. He's Big Ed's an old guy. But shout out to you, brother. I know you're going to bounce back soon, man. And if you need anything, just give me a call anytime. But anyway, so we had.
It's all right. It's good for you. It keeps your immune system tuned up.
Right. Yeah. Well, you got to flush yourself out every once in a while. Get a good food poisoning bout. But Mr. McMahon came out with his SummerSlam, and it was a good time for me and the kids. And I'd love to have my daughter here to talk about it, but she won't talk on the internet. She won't let her golden voice out on these microphones. I've tried to get her inside there before, but had a good time, man. All the big stars were there. Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins and Goldberg was there. We had it was really funny. This was extremely funny. And let's see. So a couple of the things that were going on was Shane McMahon went up against Kevin Owens. And it was the classic, it's kind of the redo of the Attitude Era when Stone Cold Steve Austin came onto the scene. And they're actually doing that whole replay with Steve Austin going over Vince McMahon at that time. He was flipping him off and giving him his signature moves, and they were back and forth. Well, the same thing's happening between Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon, and it was a pretty interesting feud going on. And it ended up, the guy they were having the pay-per-view in Toronto, and Kevin Owens happened to be in Toronto, and he's going to go up against the boss, and he did, and he won. And it wasn't a clean win, so. Kevin Owens took liberty of using a chair.
I think these guys would get new writers.
You would think so. But it's the same old story over and over. On Monday night, I can tell you what happened Monday night because I was Tuesday night with SmackDown. Kevin Owens got quote fined $100,000 from Shane McMahon for hitting an official during the match because one of my favorite guys, Elias, was the special referee on the outside of the ring. He wasn't the referee on the inside of the ring. He was only the referee on the outside of the ring. But he's sided with Shane McMahon. So he's Shane McMahon's little muscle. And once he got outside the ring, or Kevin Owens got thrown outside the ring, well, here would come Elias. And Elias would try to beat on him. Well, Kevin Owens had enough of him and hit him with the chair a couple times. Actually hit him with the chair about 10 times. And then that's how the match turned around. And
I wonder where they get those chairs.
that's an actual chair shot, dude. I have seen too many wrestling shows and know all the moves now that I'm going like, there's a couple of things that happen in wrestling that you got to be kind of a sadomasochist to take that, because it hurts. They will tell you straight up, it hurts. Those Ric Flair chops, those hurt.
Just falling on your back like that hurts.
And, yeah, exactly. Some of those things that are going on the outside of the ring, it's really kind of interesting that they actually do bumps like that, because there's guys going off the top now onto the mat, because it's a pretty thick mat, but it's no ring. The ring's on springs with wood, and then you got the mat on top and the cushion and everything, and that's fairly innocuous to the body. It's still, still hurts. I mean, there's still but when you're only going on like a little 4-inch mat or something like that, you're coming off the top rope on your back, that's gotta hurt. There's a couple things that happen on the steel steps and stuff like that. There's things that actually hurt. So you gotta be. I
told you John Oliver did an expose on them couple of months ago.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, on his Sunday night show. And those guys, no, those guys get taken advantage of. It's not a great job.
Who do you have on? Did he have any
no
wrestler on, or just
I think he did have a couple of wrestlers he interviewed, but I don't remember who it was.
All right, okay.
Yeah, but he went over how much they get paid, and who pays for their medical, what happens if they get hurt, having to do these things even if they're hurt, all sorts of stuff like that. It's not an easy gig. Those wrestler guys are getting abused. I mean they really are. I mean, they're big guys. Oh yeah, but you know what?
That's for
Vinny is making a shitload of money, and they're not. That's all I'm going to say.
That's absolutely correct. I will have to agree with you totally right there. So, but one of the most disturbing parts of the pay-per-view, as far as I was concerned, and there was a guy named Bray Wyatt. And he's Mike Rotunda's son, along with he's got another brother that's in there. I can't remember his name, but Bray Wyatt is the character, and he came out as the Fiend. He's been away for a while. He's been hurt and everything, and now they brought him back, with
a mask or something.
Yeah, with a mask and everything. He's got the real ugly mask. But when he came out, in his entrance before, when he was Bray Wyatt, they'd come out and it would be this real weird entrance music, and everybody would hold up their phone with the flashlights on them and be like fireflies, right? So that's what they were doing. And then he'd come out with his lantern and stuff, and he'd come up to the ring, and time that he's up there,
they turn all the lights down in the arena.
Turn all the lights down, and when he blows out the lantern, the lights come back up. It's kind of weird, but anyway, so he came out again as the Fiend, and he brings out his lantern, and his lantern was his old head. As he was in Bray Wyatt, all with the Scream thing and it was actually the best part of the show. I thought it was the absolutely best part of the show. Bray Wyatt, you're fucking knocking it out of the park, dude. I love you. Kevin Owen, I love you too, dude. Absolutely. And then the big show of the night was of course Brock Lesnar. And if you know Brock Lesnar, he came from he was the youngest WWE champion of all time. And then he went into the mixed martial arts and fought for UFC for a while, was a champion there. And then he came back out and he wanted to go with WWE, and then he's been kind of like a part-time freaking champion. So when he gets the belt, he disappears.
Well, I'll bet WWE is less brutal on his body than the UFC stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a whole nother world of crazy.
But they were forced kind of by the WWE universe, which I am a part of, because when we go to the shows and with the advent of the internet, Instagram, Facebook, and all that, it's like that. And the fans really have a hold of what's really going on in wrestling right now. It doesn't even depend on what you're watching. I mean, the promoter is going to probably respond to the audience reaction. A lot of times, if the audience is really eaten up and they hate somebody, you can tell hate from I'm bored. You can tell a hate boo from a boring boo. and man, the more they hate somebody, the more they're going to promote that person, because they can get you in on hate, and they can get you in on love, and they can get you in on all kinds of emotion.
It's all marketing,
but they cannot sustain the boos and the real boos, the I'm bored boos. Like, this is boring. And Brock Lesnar.
Oh yeah, like a dull fight. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And Brock Lesnar was not. It's not that he was getting boring as much as that when they gave him the belt, he would disappear, and he only would show up about 2 or 3 times a year a year to defend his title. So he's kind of like a he was kind of like Bruno Sammartino,
right,
like that back in the day.
Yeah, wanted to retire with the belt, but still needed to make a little money.
Well, but they get the belt, but they didn't, they didn't defend the belt a whole lot.
Right.
So that's how wrestling went in those days. And now it's getting to a point where I think that you're going to see more of a title change a lot. Like maybe not twice a year, or maybe 4 times a year instead of like maybe twice a year. You'll see that, and it's a big deal for wrestling. But Brock Lesnar got beat by the Beast Slayer, Seth Rollins, again for the second time, and he beat him pretty freaking clean. So, but it was a great big setup. Seth Rollins had this fake freaking rib injury, and he's still touting the rib injury. And it's one of the angles that I don't really care for too much, but it makes for an interesting Sunday night, and I just enjoy my kids being there watching it with me, because I've watched it since I was a kid, man. It's been a beautiful experience for me. And I don't know about for you, but
all right, and we won't get into monster trucks.
Yeah, well, let's not start on monster trucks. I'll have to get my son in here, and he can tell you all about monster trucks. And that would be a whole nother show, because that would be very interesting for him to have that show.
Yeah. Well, I hope that was entertaining to someone.
I'm sure it was entertaining to somebody, but there's a couple things going on in Gilroy this week. And one of the best things about Gilroy is that there's always something going on downtown. We're starting to make our mark on the South Bay a little bit. So unfortunately, we made our mark on the South Bay in a bad way a couple weeks ago. But some of the benefits that are happening are drawing lots of people. And Morgan Hill has been really, really, really kind of behind us with everything. So a lot of people have been coming in from there. A lot of people were affected by the shooting at the Gilroy Garlic Festival. So,
I'm there's one thing, and I don't want to offend anybody, but it's just a thought. It's like earlier this year we had a shooting at a car dealership in Morgan Hill. Right. And that wasn't a nice thing either.
Yeah, that was 2 people killed.
Yeah,
in that one.
Yeah, and it was a disgruntled employee type thing, which some of these mass shootings are. And I just wanted to say on that note, when I was a kid, I remember the first mass shooting that I can recall.
Mm-hmm.
It was a postal worker.
Mm.
And I can remember, in the 70s and 80s, people would actually use that jokingly, like, shut up, I'm going to go postal on your ass.
Right.
God damn.
Yeah. I tell you what, I remember the first time that I heard about a shooting like that, and that was a place called ESL here in the Silicon Valley. I want to say it was back in the 80s, might have been early 90s, but just I remember, hearing the guy going in and shut up a bunch of people in the ESL, including himself. It was murder-suicide. So that was kind of the first mass shooting that I heard about here in California, because, basically at that time there was no internet or anything. So we didn't get, news from everywhere.
Right.
We had who we had on the news, but
you had the national news. If you watched that, you'd hear a little blurb about it.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah. So So yeah, I know. I saw the Gilroy Strong banner across Monterey today as I was driving around.
Yeah,
That's cool.
As a matter of fact, I did see that. Gilroy Strong, like we said before, like Dougie said before, it's not really a great moniker to have, hashtag Gilroy Strong, but we are strong. I mean, we are coming back.
Well, Gilroy Strong is great. It's just because it's a memorial of a tragedy. That's what makes it.
We just
sad.
don't want it to be other cities like it's already at El Paso and Dayton.
Yeah.
Let's stop doing the other cities. I mean, come on, we don't want every city to be a hashtag be strong.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the media won't tell you.
It's not a badge of glory.
Yeah, but the media won't tell you about Chicago be strong. So we'll leave that one for another day too. So, but anyway, so we got the Garlic Festival benefit concert coming on. It's going to come on Sunday, August 18th, and it's hosted by the Poppy Jasper Band, and it's at the Golden State Brew and Grill down on 7560 Monterey Road in Gilroy. And come on down. It's right downtown. It's right next to the bowling alley.
Yeah. There's parking around back.
There's parking around back.
Some outside seating.
Yeah, there's going to be plenty of stuff. I'm sure that they'll have it'll be shut down. I mean, Monterey Road will probably be shut down. There'll be so many people there. Yeah. But we got the Gilroy Strong Festival going on there, and that is on Sunday, and that is going to be from 2 to 6 p.m. and that is going to be at the Golden State Brew. And see, what else do we got? Okay, tomorrow we have the Downtown Live Music Series with Sweet Daddy. You can go down to 5th Street, and that starts at 5:30 p.m. And at the same time, they got a parade of cars. We got a car show coming in.
Is that tomorrow or Friday?
That is going to be August 15th. It's the same day. So about the same time that the live music series is going on, you're going to have a parade of cars going downtown. And I'm sure they're somewhat interconnected. I'm pretty damn sure.
Do you know what I saw today? Quickly.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe this has something to do with the parade of cars, but I was down by Lowe's.
Okay.
And I was driving out, and I saw a Vegas station wagon, all chopped with a shortened axle and great big wide, slick tires, blip, 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 down the road. And then a few minutes later, I saw a pickup truck. So the same thing. It was it was a Chevy, like mid 80s pickup truck, but it had side headers, four pipes coming out the side, a shortened axle, and tires that were 2.5 feet wide. Pull out. Blah, blah, blah. I was wondering, maybe I was looking around to see if there's more. I was like, maybe it's a drag club or something meeting, but I didn't see any more.
The car things have been going on pretty much. I mean, it's Hot August nights up in Reno now and stuff like that. So there's a bunch of cars out. I should have my car out, but it's just like it's a piece of trash right now. The clear coat's been baking off, and I really just need to really sit down and kind of just put it in my studio here and work on it. But I got other things to do. I got fishing to go to, so that's my next priority. Get the boat running and get ready for fishing. But so the car show's tomorrow night, and so get out there and support local music and support Gilroy, and hashtag Gilroy Strong there. So so the big news this week, and what everybody is talking about, and I had to talk about it, is I had to talk about the Epstein suicide.
Oh boy!
We have to talk about the Epstein suicide.
You and everybody's mother.
Okay, so the first question I'm going to ask you, because I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I don't really care what happened. I'll give you my opinion about it, but that's cool. What we're here for.
Shoot.
What was your first thought when you heard it?
Well, you told me.
That's
right.
Yeah,
Saturday I was kind of out of communications. I was doing chores and running around and stuff. So I got here. You said, "What do you think about Epstein?" I'm like, "What do you mean? He killed himself." I'm like, "What? They did." I was like, the first thought in my mind was that he knew that he was so caught that he just didn't want to deal with it anymore. That was the first thought in my mind. He knew that he was so caught being such a giant scumbag that he didn't want to deal with it anymore. And then, and then other things started coming. It's like, he was supposed to be on suicide. What people were supposed to be watching him. Why weren't the guards there? Why didn't he have a roommate? It makes people think.
And I think the best thing that I do is I do what Dan Bongino does on his podcast, is that I give it 24, 48, 72 hours before I'm ready to talk about it, because I really will not kind of this Hong Kong thing. I jumped on a little bit. I don't really know the story behind the protest or anything like that, but I jumped on it because I thought it was cool with the national anthem and stuff, because I'm patriotic like that. But with this Epstein thing, we had a discussion Saturday night and what I thought a little bit about it, and the girls kind of rolled their eyes and went away. And we had to beg them back. And my first inclination was conspiracy theories. I'm going like, oh shit, Clinton got to him.
Clinton. Why does everybody think the Clintons are gangsters?
But the first thing that I heard, the first thing that I read or heard was that he committed suicide by a heart attack.
Right. He died of a heart attack.
He died of a heart attack. Or
committing suicide.
Whatever the case may be.
Well, I don't know.
So
maybe
that's what I said. So
if you held your breath long enough, or
yes, and then I copied a meme that came out like right away. It was just like, well, now everybody's conspiracy theorist. Because no matter whether you feel that it was maybe Trump or the Queen's son, Prince Andrew or whatever his name was.
Oh Lord, no, we're not going there.
And the Clinton murder machine, or a myriad of who was on those manifests, that took trips on his planes. You could probably make a conspiracy theory out of anybody.
I loved what Trump said though.
Was he?
So you got to look at who was on that island. You got to find out if Bill Clinton was on that island, because you find out Bill Clinton was on that island, that's your answer.
Well, it's been documented 27 times. 27 times that Clinton's been on his plane, and only one time that Donald Trump has been on his plane. So anyway, we'll see how that is. But one of the shows that I listened to, Jason Stapleton, had really, really, really kind of pointed argument about the fact that this was definitely a suicide. No doubt about it, hands down. It was a suicide with total incompetency by the authorities that were trusted to watch over him. Because he's telling you out of the experiences that he had when he was a sheriff's deputy and that he was working in the jails, and he told you and he began the story by telling the story of the difference between prison life and jail life. Big difference. Now, when I was in jail, I spent a year in jail. I didn't spend a year in prison, so I never went to a prison. But I was in the jail for a year, so I kind of sort of agree with him a little bit, but he's just saying that, things are so regimented and there's so many layers of security and things that you had to get through just to get into the cell block, without being detected and doing whatever, or being convinced, whatever the conspiracy theory you believe in. It would take several layers of people being conned and bushwhacked and this and that, with trying to get to Epstein. Right.
There's records of everything.
Yeah,
of everybody that comes and goes.
Exactly. There's sensors everywhere. There's cameras everywhere. Even though they say the camera in that cell block was down, doesn't matter. There's cameras everywhere, coming inside, outside. You see it every day. There's cameras everywhere in this freaking nation. So I would have to tend to agree with Jason Stapleton about the theory that it was just a suicide.
If I was going to have any conspiracy theory, my conspiracy theory would be that he's not dead.
That would be my.
That's the only one that the only one I'll entertain.
That's the one I will entertain. Is that they're taking him away to be the state's witness, and he's going to come out and do the big bombshell, and so that would be the one that I would agree with myself is something like that. But it is pretty funny listening to other people talk about it on the radio, and to me, somebody's head should roll on this. The two officers that were supposed to be looking after him are on leave, but as we know, a lot of times these things just get glassed over and nothing really happens.
So what happens when your kid is in daycare and they're supposed to be monitored by whatever, a certain number of kids, adults, or kids to each adult, blah blah blah, whatever it is.
Yep.
And somehow somebody's kid crawls into the pool and drowns.
Right. And it happens all the time.
It does happen.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt about that happens. And
so do we have the same level of liability?
I think you should have the same level
with
of
a
liability.
prisoner who's in custody.
I think that we should have the same liability, especially the high profile that he was and at the risk that he was just involved in being in the population that he was, whether he was segregated or not. They took, reports were they did have a cellmate with them, but they moved people all the time in and out for no reason at all. And you would have to believe that this, like I said, this just couldn't be an inside job. Could have he been coaxed into it? Could have been conspiracy theorists that he is still alive? They just took him out as a show. I would not put it past the CIA or anybody else,
all of his ex and current president buddies.
Yeah,
could have arranged. Who the hell knows where their power goes? I don't know.
You just don't know. It could be this Bilderberg theory. Man,
give me 5 minutes, I'll give you a conspiracy.
Absolutely, but it's really fun to talk about, man. I just thought I had to bring it up because I don't have a lot of conspiracy theories about it. I brought up the most popular one because that's the one I hear all the time, and I really don't care about it. I think it is very odd that there's a lot of people that the Clinton know that were gone, and I don't know how you can commit suicide by shooting yourself twice in the head, but okay. And
oh, you can. Have you ever watched Monty Python? First one goes through the chin.
Yeah.
The next one goes dot the eye.
Yeah.
You can do it. You can do it.
I just don't know.
Especially if you don't have a big enough gun.
I just don't know how.
Bones are hard, man. Bullets bounce. It happens.
And there's your conspiracy theories for today. But we got a level with the man. Let's go. So I have a. How do I set this up? Because we talked about this last week. I've got a rant, and then I've got an advertisement. And my rant was, unfortunately, I had to cancel. And I wasn't going to bring it up, but I thought I'd bring it up anyway. I had to cancel the Night in the Garden, Don't Burn Your Weenie, open mic, because of lack of interest. And the show was free. And it was kind of a letdown for me. I hate canceling stuff. I told myself when I got back into doing these concerts, I was going to cancel another one. But we got together anyway. The same amount of people showed up as have really signed up. And we had a nice little barbecue, even though it was only about 6 of us. And,
well, it's this time of year is tough for people too,
I think so. I mean,
there's so much going on. It's nothing against you, but, compared to I don't know, going on vacation to Yosemite or coming to your barbecue, whatever,
yeah.
Or some people, maybe they wanted to go to the rodeo or Santa Cruz. I mean, there's so much shit going on.
But anyway,
and you realize that was actually the last weekend before school started. School started today in this bloody town. You know that?
Okay. School for me didn't start until September.
Yeah, me neither.
Right after Labor Day.
Sometimes I didn't show up till January.
Something like that. Anyway. It was kind of a low thing, but the high thing is that we have another concert for Night in the Garden. It's going to be held as a benefit for the Friends of San Martin Animal Shelter, FOMAS.
That's a good cause.
That's a good cause. We're going to be taking donations in the form of pet foods and blankets and toys and hay and gift certificates and checks and anything that I can send over to the Friends of San Martin Animal Shelter to get them going. And the new shelter that's actually being built for them, the county's building a new shelter down here.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, they broke ground on it over at the, I guess that was going to be the South County Jail for a while.
Well, yeah, it was where the old courthouse was.
Yeah, where the old courthouse was. And so they're building one up there, and they're going to need some help because the Friends of San Martin Animal Shelter is a nonprofit, and they help take care of the things that the county doesn't do for the pets, because it's really just a pet jail. And there's good people that work there, and they're really concerned about animals. I'm concerned about animals. I don't like to see any animals being put down. Wish I can get them all out of the shelter and bring them all home, but I don't have enough money and patience. But
Well, we've got a few animals from there. You know,
So on September 21st, 2019, you can go to Night in the Garden, the end of summer concert, and it's going to be featuring Michael Gaither and his new best friends. And if you've ever heard Michael Gaither, you know that if he's got a band behind him, he's even going to be better than Michael Gaither.
yeah, that's worth coming to see, even if you hate animals.
Absolutely, absolutely. And singer-songwriter from San Jose, Jim Fowler, is going to be opening up for him. That's that Night in the Garden end of summer concert, and you can get that at Eventbrite /Night in the Garden, and you can find all my concerts. And there's only one left for the year. This one, click the tab, it'll get you in there. You can buy as many tickets as you want. Tickets are $20, and I just ask you to bring some kind of a donation that I can give over to the Friends of San Martin Animal Shelter, and I would really appreciate it. So those are my big plugs for today, and yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here pretty soon. What do you got going on? What's going on? What's on your mind? Anything you want to bring up?
No, I'm getting psyched for our just like our end of the summer camp out.
Right.
Going up to there and Lake Shasta. Lake Shasta, between Lake Shasta and Mount Shasta.
Oh, okay, so it's like Trinity Lake, or
no, it's past the Trinity Alps.
okay.
I'm having a brain cramp.
Okay.
It's Bob Friday's parents, for those of us that know us.
Okay. But it's not quite Shasta.
Friday's Holiday Lakes.
Oh, okay, got it.
Campground.
Got it.
And that's in I can't remember. It's 10 miles south of Lake Shasta City.
Gotcha. You can see Shasta and everything.
Oh yeah,
Shasta's
beautiful.
a great big mountain. It's,
Yeah. You can see it
it's beautiful.
every morning.
I love it. It's beautiful up there.
It's out in the woods.
I don't get up there enough. I get to. I'm going to be going to Mono Lake here at the beginning of September. Up above there, a little place called Lake Lundy, which is about 6-7 miles back in this canyon where nothing works. So I won't be doing any podcasting. I won't be looking at my phone. I won't be doing anything. I'll just be looking at the end of my fishing pole, or maybe at the end of the bottle of a beer or a bourbon bottle and a bunch of cards. So I'm playing a lot of poker and losing all my money.
Well, you can always record a podcast up there with some of your fishing buddies.
Yeah, they wouldn't take too kindly to me recording anything that happens up there. It's nothing that I would care to share on the podcast. In fact, I've been warned not to bring anybody on to talk about the fishing trip on the podcast. But maybe someday I'm known for breaking rules, so maybe someday we will get there and we will break the rules and have somebody come in from the Lunkers, because this will be our actually 50.
No, you'd have to.
It'll be our 52nd year.
You'd have to do it in a setting where, like the lake and the lake is in the background, right? And you're just having a podcast. You're not talking about the camp out.
Right. Exactly. And that's kind of the way it would be. So that was one of the podcast ideas I had was I was actually going to take this Tascam that I have. I've got a little Tascam unit. It's a little recorder, and it's a great podcasting unit. Actually, one of these days I'm going to learn how to use this and just actually feed it into the computer, and it should run pretty well from what I understand. I tested it out a couple of times. It has really good sound. But I like to take this golfing with me, and what I'll do is I'll just put it in my back pocket, or put it in my back pocket and turn the volume up, or the input up, so you can hear me. And then what I want to do is I want to do a podcast at a round of golf. Now, a round of golf takes you like 4 hours, but the comments that are happening while you're walking down the golf course, you just split those up, edit in between them, and it comes into like maybe a half-hour podcast. I don't know.
Thanks for the warning.
Yeah, no problem. So if you see round of golf, you know that that's Bruce the Weathered Soul doing another one of his crazy podcasts.
Now I
get one download.
Now I know not to say anything around you unless I can see that that's turned off.
We were talking about that the other day. It was like doing this so we can go,
Yeah.
channel to channel. So
Yeah.
you hear me in one ear and you in the other ear. That would be too cool. But it's a pretty powerful unit. It's pretty cool. And no, the guys, like, if I got caught with that at the site, yeah, it'd be in the lake. It'd be
Yeah, along with most of you. Most of you.
No, that would be in the lake.
Yeah, and most of you.
No, not most of me. They'd leave me alone.
Really?
They would take that away.
We
from
wouldn't
me
be finding pieces of you for a few years.
They just throw it in the lake. They know that stuff that I buy is not cheap, and they would throw it in the lake just because that's the way those guys are.
Those are the rules, man.
I would do the same thing.
Hey, listen,
52 years.
they don't
man.
make the rules; they just follow them.
Yeah, 52 years we've been doing this. 52 years, and we're doing actually a memorial to Grandpa Lundy, man, and he passed away this year. So one of the founders passed away. So we're going to do a big. It's going to be a special year for us, and man, I can't wait to go, and I know you guys can't wait to go to Shasta. It's my last year on the ground, so this is I'm going to retire my tent and my sleeping bag, and next year is going to be up in the cabins for me. I'm not gonna play the tent game anymore.
Why don't you just go to Morgan Hill, go to Holiday Inn then?
I could probably do that. I mean, if I really had my way, I'd go back into Lee Vining and go stay there at the hotel.
Yeah, that's a nice hotel.
A couple nice hotels.
We've stayed there.
You know,
Yeah.
if you go past Lee Vining, don't blink twice because you'll be past it already. I mean, it's probably a mile and a half long. Maybe not even a mile long, actually. Maybe a half mile long. It's not very long. You come in, you got a couple of general stores, a restaurant, a couple of hotels, the high school, gone. Oh, the monocone.
Oh, it's gotten that big?
Yeah. Well, they've had the monocone forever. So when I first went there, my first year was 1981. It was the first time I went. And then the first year that it was started was 1968. So that's how long it's been going on. So we expect to have about 30, 35 guys there this year.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. So drinking, fishing, and poker. That's what we do.
Poker, you hardly know her. Sorry, I had to get that out.
Say goodnight, Dougie.
Good night, Dougie.
Good night, guys. Thank you for listening to the What Is Soul podcast.
Happy Thursday, Eve.
Get off our grass.
Woo. Oh, man. Is it cool down at all?
guys.
Oh.